Hello, everyone. Welcome. We'll get started in about 5 minutes, okay? Hi, everyone. We'll get started in about 3 minutes. So, yeah, stand by. So someone just asked, is this meeting being recorded? Yes, it is being recorded, and we will share it with everyone. Maybe 2 to 3 days after today's session, and we will send it to your email. Additionally, we'll also post it on our website. Yes, Jose, we will email it to you in about 2 to 3 days. Business days, sorry. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for today's live webinar. My name is Rene Gonzalez. I am the eligibility coordinator here at Housing. Just some housekeeping things. My team is actually here in the background. You can't see them, but they're actually monitoring all the Q&A panel. So if you have any questions at any time, you can go ahead and ask it in the Q&A, and then somebody will go ahead and answer it. If there is a common question that most people are asking, then we will go ahead and answer that live. Okay, without further ado, we'll get started. So welcome all future Golden Eagles. Today's session, we will be talking about the housing application process for the academic year 23-24. As mentioned earlier, we are recording this session, so if you can't stay for the remainder of the session, we'll go ahead and email it to you 2 to 3 business days after this is recorded, and we'll send it to the email that you registered with. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So in today's presentation, again, we have representatives that answering any comments and questions. We'll have a few minutes after the presentation to directly answer any questions you might have, and we'll send you a recording later after this is done. 2 to 3 business days after. So in the agenda, we're gonna go over benefits of living on campus, housing amenities, the housing application process, frequently asked questions, and our contact information. So why you should live on campus? So studies show that living on campus increases the likelihood that students will achieve a higher rate of academic success. Living on campus, students can access leadership opportunities, build meaningful connections, live in a safe environment, access counseling, and quickly get to class or to on-campus events. All right. So this is an image, some images from our South Village building. Fun fact, our South Village building was actually open in August of 2021. So it's a very new building for us and definitely for our students. So everything is state of the art, and we're definitely excited to share that with you all. What to expect? So our bedrooms are furnished. There are restrooms and showers on every floor. There's a study and community lounges, health and wellness zone, which is our gym. We have the Village Commons, which is the dining hall, the Village Cafe, which is the convenience store, the Learning Center, mailroom, and themed communities. All right. So the South Village will be for students who are under 21 years of age. If you will be turning 21 within the academic year, then you will be placed in the university apartments. Again, some amenities. We have the study rooms, meditation rooms, spin cycle room, community lounges, and more. So the housing application process. The housing application process allows students the opportunity to apply for housing for the upcoming academic year. The housing application opened on March 1st for returning students and March 15th for any new students and transfers. Students can now choose their roommates within the roommate wizard. So if you do want some of that action, you can definitely do that today, but you will have to complete an application. Okay, here are some important dates to consider when going through after you've completed your application. For maybe some of you, you haven't completed the ECD. That deadline is May 1st. So if you want to be a part of the application process for housing, you do need to complete an ECD. Once you have paid your ECD of $100, it does take approximately 1 to 2 weeks for that to process. So let's say you paid your ECD tonight, you may not be able to access the housing application until the university processes you. So just keep that in mind. Let's see, May 1st, returning residents may be able to pick their own bedrooms. We may have to change that date to a date in the future. We are aiming for May 1st, but it has taken us a while to get that set up. So just for now, let's consider that as to be determined, and we may push it back another week. May 2nd, again, that is for room selection and for the apartments only. Again, we will push that up maybe another week. June 1st, those that pick their bedroom in the room selection process will be able to change their room if they decide they don't want to be in the room they selected. June 26th, the housing begins to assign bedrooms to the students. June 30th, the roommate wizard process closes. So I would suggest maybe taking a screenshot of this page I think a lot of students are definitely interested in the roommate wizard process. This allows you to see other students who've completed the application in the roommate wizard, and you're able to connect with them. You can send messages, you can share Instagram handles. So if there's somebody that you feel you're compatible with, you can send them a message and you can look at their profile categories to see if they match up with you. July 7th, the room selection and room change process ends for those that are living in the apartments. And then our roommate wizard will close for everyone. July 19th will be the last day to cancel your housing. So let's say you apply today. You do have until July 19th to cancel your application without penalty. So if you're uncertain, please make sure you cancel by or before the 19th, just to avoid any additional fees. August 9th, so the housing party deadline will be met. So after this date, it is possible that students may be placed on a wait list. So definitely apply before this date so you don't get placed on a wait list, and when school starts, you'll already be in your room. August 21st, we'll reopen our assignment process, and students will be able to, we'll go ahead and start placing students in their bedrooms. It does take a lot of work for us to set up these bedrooms. This is why we set this deadline. We do want you all to apply early, and we do want you all to have a pleasant experience as you join us here on campus for the fall 23. And then September 8th, which is probably our most important date, is that the housing payment will be due in full. So if you have financial aid or you have loans coming in, just be sure you're aware of when that's coming in and when our deadline is going to be for the housing payment. So before you apply for housing, make sure you're in good academic standing, judicial and financial standing. Must have paid your enrollment confirmation deposit, which is the ECD of $100. This can take 1 to 2 weeks to process. Review the different interests and learning communities you may want to join. Identify which community you wish to live in and qualify for. Determine your preferred room type. If you want a specific person or roommate, housemate, confirm their interest. Make sure you both want you both chose the preferred room type and it matches both your applications. If you do not have a specific roommate in mind, you will have a chance to search them in the roommate wizard. If for whatever reason you don't want to be a part of the roommate wizard, we will go ahead and place you with the most compatible person. So if you're shy with making your new best friend, we'll go ahead and choose your new best friend for you. So make sure you review your financial aid and budget to choose the best payment plan. We will be opening a payment plan for the fall 23, but this will not go live until charges have been posted to the accounts. This will not happen until sometime in July. So just be on the lookout for any emails from us. And then I believe financial aid will also be releasing information on your financial aid packages around the same time. So just you might have to do a little math to find out what your out-of-pocket cost is going to be. If you're uncertain, you can always call the financial aid office and they can break it down for you. But yeah, just be on the lookout for any emails from us. If you have a health condition or disability that requires a housing accommodation, register with the Office for Students with Disabilities so that they can recommend to us that you need special accommodation due to your disability. This can include requests for service animals and emotional support animals. So if you have an ESA or a service animal, you do have to register through the Office for Students with Disabilities. They will let us know that you require the animal due to your disability, and that will allow you to have the animal in housing. And at the very end of the housing application, we will ask for a $40 non-refundable payment. This will allow you to complete the application and will notify us that the application is complete. So at the very end, it will direct you to the Transact page, and at that time, you can do the $40 payment. Here on the right, you can also see our prices. These are also listed on our website. So just if you want more detailed information, you can check our website under rates and payments. But this is just a, a breakdown of what it looks like. If you want to take a screenshot of that, again, at the very 2 to 3 days after this recording, we will send you a PowerPoint slide with the video. So if you can't take a screenshot, we'll go ahead and send that to you in the future. So parking for housing. Students living on campus who wish to bring a vehicle must purchase a resident parking permit. Housing resident parking permits are only valid in Lot 5 and Paseo Rancho Castilla, east of Mariandale Avenue to Hellman Bridge. Residential permits are not valid in student lots, and 30-day permits are available for $66 per 30-day period. One sec, I'm gonna take a swig of water. Okay, and here on the right-hand side, you can see what the charge will be. So you do have to pay per semester, and I definitely recommend you doing that in advance. Unfortunately, you might not be able to see the housing resident parking permit information page until we've posted charges to your account. So I would say wait until sometime in July, end of July. That's when you'll be able to see your parking permit for housing. All right, so how to apply. If you want to follow along with us on the application process, you can go ahead and scan the QR code or go to our website. I'll go ahead and type that in the chat. And if you want to follow along, you can do that. Okay, I've written that in the chat. So we'll go ahead and get started. If you are following along on a desktop, you want to select the housing portal here on the right. And if you are on a cell phone and you scan the QR code, it'll automatically take you to the housing website, and you'll also be able to see the housing portal. Okay, so once on the housing portal, a lot of students get confused. They try to use the username and password function. So that is the improper way to log in. In order to properly log in, you want to select the student SSO login function. This will connect with the Cal Soleil system, and it will link to your Cal Soleil email and password. So all students who want to apply need to select the student SSO login feature. Okay, and once inside the housing application, you will see, or sorry, the housing portal, you'll see the housing application. It'll read housing application 2324, and you want to go ahead and select that. Okay, once selected, you will be directed to the main page. When applying, you will see Spring 24 as well. But you won't be able to proceed with that because we're only advertising the academic year 23-24. If you apply for the academic year, you do not need to apply for spring. This is only for those that intend to do spring only. If you only want to do spring only application, that won't go live until sometime in November. So if you're more interested in just the spring, just be on the lookout, and sometime in November you can ask us during that time. But for now, for the fall, you want to select the academic year 23-24 license agreement and press apply. Once you press apply, you'll be directed to the main page, to the welcome page, and you'll see Eddie Eagle here waving at you. And he's actually right in front of our housing area. And we'll go on to the next step. The next step is a page with personal contact information. So it'll ask you for a missing person contact, emergency contact information, as well as some other information. Some information may populate because it is linked to our university database. So in some cases, you may not be able to edit everything. So just be mindful of that. If you do want to change information, you would have to go through your Get account. So let's say your address changes during the summer, or yeah, you need to change some information. You do have to go through Get. The next page will be the student profile page, and this will ask you questions about your study habits, sleep habits, visitors, room atmosphere, smoking, substance use. These questions are actually the questions that are going to be used for the roommate wizard. So we ask that everybody answer them as truthfully as possible, because this is how we're going to find people that are you're most compatible with. So for example, if you prefer to study later at night, then maybe you want to select somebody that also wants to sleep later at night. So it's important to answer these questions truthfully. And the next page will be the community preferences page. Here you will see communities that you may be interested in, such as the Do Not Disturb community, D&D, not Dungeons and Dragons, but Do Not Disturb. Emerging Student Leaders community, STEM community, which is for those that are interested in science, technology, engineering, and math. And you will be asked to select a preference. You can also do not interested if you're not interested. But if you want to be placed with like-minded people, you can pick a community. And then after that, you will see a special interest community, such as the Jalisci Scholars Living Learning Community, the Latinx community, as well as the GIH community. These, if you do intend to be a part of one of these communities, you do have to submit a statement and answer some questions. So once you select one of them, on the next page, you will be asked additional questions, maybe a personal statement as to why you would be a good fit for this community and why you want to be in that community. The next page after that, we will see the room preferences. So here you will be able to select double and triple options. So your first option, you want to be your most preferred. So for me, myself, I'd rather prefer to be in a double, which is 2 people per bedroom. And then my second preference would probably be triple, which is 3 people per bedroom. A lot of students ask if they can be in a single. Right now, we are not advertising singles for students unless they have an OSD recommendation. So if you do have an OSD recommendation, I do encourage you to register with OSD. But again, we are not advertising singles. So you will not be able to see that in the room preference page. This is true for both South Village and the apartments. For those that are going to that are grad students and want to live in GA, they will see actually a separate page, and they will be able to choose singles at GA. GA is the Golden Eagle Apartments, and these are only for grad students. Winter break housing. So residents with an active housing agreement for academic year 23-24, winter intersession is included in your license agreement. So you do not have to go home for the winter break. However, we do want you all to travel, visit family, but if you absolutely cannot or do not want to, you can stay here at housing. For students who are approved to cancel their housing agreement for spring, they must check out from the university by 2 p.m. on their last day of the fall final exams, which is Saturday, December 16. Meal plan options. So meal plan options will be based on your chosen community. So your first preference listed, students living in South Village are required to have a meal plan. Those that are living in the apartments and are new and transfer students will be required to have a meal plan. If you are a returning student, you are not required to have a meal plan. And then after, you will see the student guide link. This will list out everything you need to know about housing, such as what not to bring, what happens with lockouts, and so on. So just be sure to read the student guide. It has really valuable information to get you started for living on campus. The next page after that is probably the most important page, which is the license agreement, which is the contract page. So once you sign this, you are engaging in a contract. So if if you're unsure about housing, or are uneasy about, the housing accommodations, be sure you're reading through that contract, because this is what we will refer to throughout the year. So such as when the contract ends, when the contract begins, as well as when the meal plan starts and when it ends. So just be sure you read through the entire document. It's not like the Apple terms and agreements that you see when you're signing up. So yeah, we do encourage students to read through this license agreement. The next you will see the meningitis page. Meningitis vaccine is not required, but we do recommend students to take it given that they're going to be living with people in close proximity. Regarding COVID-19, so for the coming year, we will not be collecting information on COVID-19 vaccines, so you no longer have to consider that. So we will not be taking that. That will also include tuberculosis. In the past, we did ask students to submit a risk assessment for tuberculosis. For fall 23, you will not need to submit a risk assessment. Then we go to the housing payment page. So 2 important dates to keep in mind. The fall payment date will be September 8th, and the spring payment deadline will be February 9th. So when you're looking at the prices online, you're going to see the academic year rate, but the way we charge the students is per semester. So when we say per semester, keep in mind the deadline. So again, you see here for fall, September 8th, and for spring, February 9th. Okay, and then you will be directed to the payment page. So in order to complete your application, you do have to pay a $40 non-refundable fee. And then once you pay the $40 through Transact, it will direct you to go back to the housing application. That is probably the most important part in order to complete the application. So once you've paid, you have to go back to the application and you will see a page that says complete. I believe it is the next slide. Let me see. Okay, there we go. So you're going to see the almost there page. So once you pay, you have to press complete application. If you don't press complete application on our end, we're going to see that you have not completed the application, and we're going to send you emails that, hey, you haven't paid or you haven't completed the application. So in order to just avoid all that, be sure you're going back to the application and pressing the complete application button. Okay, and then this is the final page. You will see a green ribbon in the center, and you will see that you have completed the application and signed the license agreement, as well as paid your $40 application fee. Okay, and that'll be the end of it. At the very bottom, actually, you will see the save and continue button. Now it is live, and you will be able to continue on to the Roommate Wizard process. So once you press save and continue, you will be able to see the Roommate Wizard, and you can start connecting with your new best friend on that day. So some important reminders: students are highly encouraged to apply early. Participation in housing application process will be on a first come, first served basis. Housing placement is not guaranteed. Students who miss application deadlines may be placed on a wait list. Be mindful of all the deadlines. Read and understand the student housing license agreement and its terms prior to signing. Understand the policies regarding housing cancellations and meal plan changes, which are 30-day in advance notice prior to beginning of the semester. So if you plan to cancel the housing agreement or the meal plan, you do have to notify us 30 days before the start of the license agreement. If you have any questions for whatever reason, please call us, please email us. We will answer. I know we can be kind of busy at times during this time of year, but we will make sure that somebody reaches out to you as soon as possible. Frequently asked questions. Can I bring my pet eagle? No, you may not. You may bring a fish in a 10-gallon tank if you wish. So no animals other than fish are allowed in residence halls and apartments. For students with disabilities seeking approval for service animals and assistance animals, please contact the Office for Students with Disabilities at calcitla.edu/OSD. You may also call them at 323-343-3140. Can I have my own room? Single rooms are limited and typically reserved for students with disabilities. You can contact the OSD office to request accommodation. I'm a transfer student. Where do I live? So all students who are under 21 or are not going to be 21 within the academic year, you will be living in South Village. If you will be turning 21 or are 21 and over, you will be living in the phase 1, phase 2 apartments. What if I want to live with people I know? So we have a Roommate Wizard, as I mentioned earlier, and it is now live, and residents can select their preferred roommates. Be sure you have their full names as well as their CIN. If you have somebody maybe from high school or you already know somebody that you want to live with, make sure you have each other's CIN. Make sure you both committed to the university and have set up your emails and passwords. And most importantly, make sure you both have a completed application. Okay. And that concludes our presentation. At this time, if you have any questions, you may go ahead and ask that in the Q&A, and I will answer some of them live. One question that was asked was, does the ECD apply to graduate students? No, if you're a graduate student, you do not need to pay the ECD. Someone asked, do we have to do the Roommate Wizard? No, the Roommate Wizard is optional. If you would not like to select a roommate, we will go ahead and select one for you. Another question, if I've been accepted to Cal State LA, can I start my housing application? No, you may not. You must first commit to the university, pay your ECD of $100. Again, if you're a grad student, you do not need to pay that. But make sure you pay the ECD if you are an undergraduate student. And then again, it takes about 1 to 2 weeks for that to activate, and then you can apply for housing. If you've already applied for housing and you can't access the roommate wizard, please send us an email with some screenshots and we can look into what's going on. And we'll be more than happy to help you out. How do I set up a payment plan for housing? So in July, we will send out communication on how to do that. So that will happen once we've posted charges to your account. So just be on the lookout for some emails in July. How do I set up my password for the CalStudLay portal? So CalStudLay should have sent you an email on how to activate your email. So look inside your on your email on how you first applied to CalStudLay, and then they should have sent you an email with an activation link. You would go to the activation link and they might have given you a PIN. You would put in that PIN and create a password on that day. So somebody asked, are transfer students living in the 21 and over apartments required to get a meal plan? Yes, everyone who's a new and transfer student will be required to have a meal plan. Is the meal plan part due at the same time? So is the meal plan charge due at the same time as the housing payment? Yes, it will be due at the same time. And I believe when you go on your get, you will see an invoice as to what you're being charged for. But yes, when you see the total amount, it will include your housing charge as well as your payment charge. If you plan to not live on campus, can you still apply for the meal plan? Right now, we don't have a program like that. However, we are working with the dining company to try to offer this to our students. So please stay tuned. Hi, I'm confused about the deadline. I am a current graduate student. When is the exact deadline to apply? So let's see. So there is no exact deadline, it's more of a priority deadline because the application never closes. So in essence, you can apply at any time during the year. However, if you want to be part of the process and move in as smooth as possible, our deadline is August 9th. So if you do want to be, if you do want a smooth transition, we encourage everyone to apply before August 9th. One question was, when can I apply for the summer semester? Great question. We're actually working on the summer semester application. We hope to go live with it sometime next week. Um, In order to be eligible for the summer, you would have had to take classes in spring 23 and fall 24, or be taking classes during the summer. So just be mindful of that. Is the special interest community optional? Yes, all the communities listed in the application are optional. So you do not have to select it. Actually, when you see the drop-down menu, you can press not interested. Is missing person contact just another emergency contact? Lauren, yes, in essence, is just another contact. However, I would try to keep them different so that in case something happens, we have another person to call. If I will be turning 21 in November, will I be housed in South Village or the university apartments? So because you will be turning 21 in November of 2023, you will be eligible only for the university apartments. Okay, I will be posting something in the chat. It will have lots of links and lots of links to our process. So we encourage everyone to copy that and maybe put it on a notepad so that you can access it in the future. 1 second.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're getting a couple of questions about students living with partners and stuff like that. So I just want to clarify. So we don't offer co-ed apartments or co-ed bedrooms. And we do offer gender inclusive housing for a particular purpose. And we do talk about what gender inclusive housing means to us on our website. We're pretty specific about that. We discourage living with partners, and the reason for that is that we don't offer family housing at this time. And so it's really important for us to make sure that students kind of know the difference between what gender inclusive housing is and like living with a partner. So if you have more specific questions about that, about your particular situation, I would say to call our office during business hours. That way we can go over that with you. If you have questions about what gender inclusive housing is, I know we talked about it briefly in this presentation, but I would say to ensure that you're reading our website so you know exactly what we mean by gender inclusive housing versus a co-ed apartment. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you so much, Jessica. We will go ahead and post in the chat information about our special interest communities. Okay, we will be wrapping up very shortly. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat so we can answer them for you. If for whatever reason we can't get to your question today, please send us an email. You can see it here on our page, askhousing@calslate.edu, and we will reply to you promptly. Okay, so one question, I don't understand gender inclusive and co-ed. So gender inclusive is for those that would like to be a part of a community where it is gender inclusive, and it's actually listed in the special interest communities that I posted in the chat. For those that want to live in co-ed, so we do have co-ed floors, so you can either be in gender specific floors or co-ed floors. So maybe one entire floor, maybe be all women or all men, or we can have it co-ed where it's mixed. Now the bedrooms won't be mixed, but the floor will be mixed. In phase one, phase two, we do not have co-ed housing. It's only for South Village. In phase one, phase two, we have gender specific apartments. However, we do have some gender inclusive housing, and I would recommend that you read what gender inclusive housing is so you get a better understanding of that community. All right, we'll be wrapping up in a couple of minutes. Any last questions? Please let us hear them. Okay, no further questions, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. Actually, one last question. Will bathrooms be for both genders? So if you are in South Village, the bathrooms are gender inclusive. But if you are in a gender specific floor, then those that are able to enter will be those of the specific gender. However, if you live on a co-ed floor, then the restrooms are gender inclusive. For those living in the apartments in a gender specific apartment, then there are 4-bedroom apartments as well as 2-bedroom apartments. In the 4-bedroom apartments, there are 2 restrooms per apartment. In those that are 2-bedroom apartments, you will have 1 restroom. All right, we're just answering one final question and then we'll go ahead and conclude the session. If you were interested in those links we sent you, we posted them in the chat. If you want to copy them, you're more than welcome to. And that concludes our session. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have additional questions, please reach out to us via email or phone. And we're happy to see you in the fall. Thank you so much.